And now we pass the microphone to our partners Ingeborg and Selma, who will present the plenary panel discussion.
Okay, hello everybody. How are you doing?
I hope everyone is ready for our first panel. Please get comfortable, and we're going to embark on a journey full of ideas and practices, and I'm really excited to be here. By the way, I'm Selma, I'm from the Czech Republic, and I'm going to be the co-host of this panel.
I'm Ingeborg, I'm from Norway, and I'm Selma.
Great, let's get started.
So, with us today we have Renate and Nikolay, the Deputy Director at DG Connect. We also have Lígia Azevedo from the Ministry of Education in Portugal, and Becker, the Senior Vice President of Policy and Public Affairs at Video Games Europe.
Welcome everyone again, and we're very, very pleased to have you here. So my first question is, could you introduce yourself very briefly so that the audience knows who you are? And then also, could you tell us one priority that you are currently focusing on and one challenge that comes with it? We can start perhaps with Renate.
Yes, good morning. It's great for me to be here. I'm Deputy Director General in DG Connect, so the service in the Commission that supports the work of the forum, that supports the work of the Better Internet for Kids strategy, but also the service that has become the digital sheriff with the new platform rules. And I'm overseeing that work. My key priority at the moment, building also on what we heard as messages from Commissioner Breton, is that we have to kind of fill with life the key moment that we are living in Europe now, that we are in a situation where we are fortunate enough to have clear, strong platform rules under the Digital Services Act and the Digital Markets Act. They have given promises to the citizens of Europe that there will be more protection, more safety, more fairness online, and with a very strong focus also on the protection of minors online. So my key challenge at the moment, and of the colleagues that are working with me in day-to-day basis on the enforcement of these rules, is to really make sure they make a difference on the ground. And what I'm observing is, as the Commissioner has said, there are already actions. I mean, some of the platforms have changed their algorithms already. They have changed the kind of possibilities for you to opt out. They have changed the kind of the profiles to make them private by design. So things that they could have done long ago, but probably that were triggered now because there are the rules and we are watching them. But we don't stand still. We don't simply let them do. We also have, we're engaging in discussions with them. We have sent requests for information to some of them over the last week to understand a bit better, because they had to present to us first risk assessments to understand better what concrete systems they have built to really ensure that they deliver what the DSA says, better protection, better privacy protection, better safety protection for minors, and we will not hesitate to kind of follow suit. A challenge is to keep that momentum, not to let it go, and to really show day by day that we mean what we have said in the law.
Thank you very much. Lígia?
Thank you, Selma. My name is Lígia, and I belong to the Portuguese Ministry of Education. And I would like to mention that Maria João Horta, the Deputy Director General for Education, could not be here due to healthy reasons. Nevertheless, I would like to share some measures and policy that are being implemented. So in Portugal, the digital area is a priority, highlighting mainly the investment in the school digital transition. It is important to note that Portuguese students have received a laptop with internet connection, and all schools have a digital development action plan in place. In addition, all Portuguese teachers have received training in digital competencies based to their proficiency levels, providing students with computers, aim to ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity to take advantage of technology benefits in education, promoting equality, and preparing students for the challenge of digital world. We are focused on creating environments and conditions that enable the development of quality learning and for all students with a special attention for children in the vulnerable conditions. With the development of this digital resource and equipment use, there is a need to create conditions for safe and critical and healthy use of digital environments. Well-being issues are crucial for us, and we know that we'll still have a long way, and we will continue working in this dimension. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Anne.
Thank you, Selma. This is great. My daughter's name is Selma, so I'm very excited to be sitting next to you. I don't meet other Selmas every day, so yeah. My name is Anne. I work for Video Games Europe. So we represent national trade associations across Europe in many different countries, and we also have the direct membership of some of the leading European and international video game companies. So just a little bit what I'm doing in my day work. But I just wanted to thank the Commission, the Safer Internet Centers, the BIK Youth panel, because I think it's great to have this forum annually. I've been here previous years, and I just think we learn so much from these days. And also hearing from the BIK Youth panel of, how are you living the digital world and what are your requests, I think, also to us as an industry. In terms of priorities for us, Renate, you mentioned the DSA. So, of course, that is a big priority, not only for video game companies, but I think every company that is active online is, of course, now actively looking at preparing compliance with the DSA. I think you have some further questions for us, so we can speak about that a little bit more in detail. In terms of immediate priorities for us, it's actually that we are currently at Video Games Europe. We are preparing our end-of-year campaign called Seize the Controls, which is a campaign that will be launched across Europe, and we also hope with the collaboration with the Safer Internet Centers on continuing our mission also to inform parents and carers, players, about the importance of good and responsible play. So just an early advancement. It's being launched on the 11th of December.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your answers. Just before we embark on the first question, I would like to remind you of the 3-minute rule so that we kind of get everything done in time.
So, Renate, in Amanda's keynote, we heard about the range of skills children and young people need in the digital world. Can you talk about the main European Commission's initiatives within this context? What are you doing to foster digital skills, and how does this work in practice?
Yes, it is actually a very good day to talk about that, because whilst we are having the forum here, education ministers are coming together in the council and will adopt recommendations on digital skills and digital education and training. And this is very much kind of building on the Better Internet for Kids strategy. It's building on the idea of dedicating this year as the year of skills. And of course also on the broader kind of context that we have given ourselves in the European Union with the Digital Decade policy program, where we have given ourselves targets for 2030, where we want to have really digital education for the majority of the population. Of course, combined also with digital upskilling and kind of having ICT experts that we also need, of course, from a business angle. But I think so. What I would say is that we have definitely identified that as a key political item. I think Europe has a role to play here. We don't have a lot of kind of direct competence when it comes to education, but we can certainly stimulate debate amongst the member states, which is exactly what is happening today, which is really picking up. And we can kind of create the kind of atmosphere to share best practices. Just to give you an example, following the Digital Decade Policy Report that we issued for the first time in September, I chaired a kind of a meeting with all the member states representatives who have worked on that, and we looked at what are the key challenges that they now see 1 year after we had agreed on these 2030 targets. And the key challenges were connectivity, because of course you need super connectivity to allow the digital transition and for all of us to be participants in it. But the other was digital skills. And that is really, you know, a big theme. It's not only about ICT experts, it's really kind of digital education. It's the role of the young generation, but also the adults, bringing the parents in, bringing the kind of the schools in. And we heard a lot of that also in the speech of Amanda. And that's why I think it's also good that when we are having the the education ministers in town today, they will also pick up an initiative that we launched with the entry into force of the DSA rules to bring the DSA to school. So this is an initiative that I think we can build into the Better Internets for Kids strategy and work with the safer internet centers that are present here, that we use the opportunity of the new rules to also kind of increase the awareness in schools for teachers, give them the booklet that you have seen, educate them so that there can be debates in schools, and that maybe also pupils in school in the future will be more aware of their rights and will also kind of use that to kind of turn to teachers, to turn to counselors, turn to their parents to actually make them more and more easily and earlier aware of things that might happen and might be harmful for them.
Great, thank you so much for giving us this perspective. My next question goes to Lígia. Maybe you can tell us more about the local perspective. So, from a Portuguese point of view, do you feel that the education system is ready to equip children with the necessary skills to navigate the digital landscape? Oops. And what are the main priorities and challenges you see at more of a national level?
Thank you, Selma. As we well know, educational systems are extremely complex entities, and daily we face with the new and often unexpected challenge. One of our greatest advantage in Portugal is that we have been investing in the digital field for many years. One of our greatest, for a long time, we have been running awareness campaigns, resource development for several target groups, children, families, teachers, school leaders, and others. Special emphasizing the importance here is the teachers' training. Regarding digital citizenship education, we highlight that the Portuguese Ministry of Education has implemented several actions and initiatives to promote healthy and safety practice among students, like digital leaders. Today we are very well represented with our 4 Portuguese students, and promoting well-being online is a task that demands continuity, especially because the challenges in this field are increasingly demanding. Regarding your second question, our main priorities and challenge is to keep students safety and healthy in the digital environment and cover a range of crucial areas. In addition, we want to highlight the importance of empowering and raising awareness among students and working with different entities, among which we highlight those responsible for support service, such as helplines and hotlines, the industry to develop tools and technology that promote safe digital environments, and also academy to research and develop in innovative practice to keep students safe in digital age. We emphasize the growing challenge of addressing well-being issues. We are currently promoting a national debate on the most appropriate age to introduce screens in the learning process. There are new challenges that we face, and we also require support from academy and research to make the best decisions.
Thank you very much. So, my next question goes to you, Anne. The games industry is often at the forefront of the adoption of the innovative tech, with video games playing an important role in children and young people's personal lives. In your view, what are the skills children and young people can gain from playing video games, and how can we nurture these?
Thank you, Ingeborg. That's a great question, and I was very impressed by Amanda's presentation earlier as well, and I think there was a lot of food for thought in that, also regarding the skills part. This is an important year for skills. It's the European Years of Skills, and we're very involved in this area as the video game sector. Video games are a unique channel to learn through play. I think many different skills can be achieved through video game play. Some of the most well-known are, of course, social skills, language skills, decision-making, emotional skills, etc. Also through more directed learning, for instance, when you have games in schools, you, for instance, have skills such as improved literacy, numeracy, and concept-based learning. Perhaps skills that are a little bit less known, that can also be achieved through video game play, is also the social school inclusion. So we see that students that may have difficulties with learning, their video games, when they're used in the educational space, can help them to, for instance, do error identification in a non-traumatized way. They can find their own ways of learning. They can also learn rules. So we're seeing quite interesting skills, whether that are soft skills or more specific skills that can be achieved through using playing games, simply. Now, to acquire these new skills, there is, of course, a community that we really need to nurture, and that's the teachers. They're absolutely crucial in the space. Since 2006, Video Games Europe lead a project called Games in Schools that is run and executed by the European Schoolnet. And that is a 6-week MOOC course that teach teachers on how to use games in the classroom. So as a complement to the curricula. And through this, they can, in an interactive way, they can, for example, teach history, math, collaborative skills, they can do teamwork, they can achieve challenges together, and simply soft skills that are really important today, working together as a team online as well. This course is really popular. Every edition attracts several thousands of teachers across Europe. We have had a huge participation from Portugal, by the way. So that's really interesting. And I think that also shows, that participation also shows that there is really a need from the teachers' communities also to be upskilled with new skills to be relevant in the classroom. The handbook now, which is called the Games in Schools Handbook, is currently out since September and also include lessons plans. It's been translated into a number of languages.
Great, thank you so much. We often lack the industry perspective, so I think that was very, very insightful. My next question goes to Renate. Of course, when we talk about skills, we're not just thinking about empowerment or participation, but also about online safety protections and well-being. Do you think that the Digital Services Act, the DSA, will be a game changer within this context? And what are the key areas where you think we will see a meaningful change? And what should we all in this room do to make citizens aware of their rights?
Thank you for the question. I personally really think that the DSA can be a game changer. As I said, that we are already seeing some first steps. But what is also clear is that what the Digital Services Act does, in particular for the very large online platforms, those that have more than or at least 45 million users in the EU per month, and we have designated at the moment 19 of them, and all the big ones are in there. So it's really the key platform kind of space that we are occupying here. They will really have to engage with us in a very regular interaction, which means yearly risk assessments that will be kind of assessed, much more transparency, access to their data also by researchers. So Amanda and kind of others will in the future get direct access to the data, which was at the moment a big black box that they didn't get into. The systemic risks that the platforms will have to kind of report on include issues such as, mental health. There are clear kind of obligations to increase the privacy, safety, protection of minors. So they will have to come up with ideas and with concrete kind of concepts. But I believe, it's not only an important relationship between the Commission as the digital regulator and the platforms. It's also a broader ecosystem that we are creating here. And that will be important to make everybody more aware of the changes and also of the rights and the obligations under the new platform rules. Because we will need the input of many, because research will develop. We heard some of the questions also that were put. It's early days to really kind of have a full assessment of the impact of, online safety on mental health. The new platform rules will allow us to have a much more privileged and more informed discussion about that in the future, and it will certainly have an impact on how we go about regulatory choices that we might take in the future and what kind of we impose on platforms when applying the DSA on a day-to-day basis. We did actually in June this year a first kind of big DSA conference. So this was before the rules really started applying to the platforms, and it included so many different actors, NGOs, trusted flaggers, academics, law enforcement authorities, of course the authorities in the member states, us in the Commission. And it was great to see the platforms, of course, themselves. It was great to see that even before the rules kicked in, we already saw the ecosystem emerging. And I think that can be very powerful. And then we have to bring it, of course, also to events like this one and many other kind of, events where we simply talk about it. And I would also add one aspect. I think also, critical media will be important because we also have to showcase, we have to communicate about it, and we have to kind of, see that also, journalists in their daily work kind of, pay attention to this kind of changing online environment with the new rules.
Thank you, that was very insightful. So, Lígia, you talked earlier about the risks and priorities that you see from an education point of view. How do you think the DSA and other relevant EU rules to protect minors will help to address these challenges? Do you think there's a role for education within this context?
Thank you, Ingeborg. In the European Union, several measures have been implemented to protect and empower children and young people regarding digital environments. I would like to highlight the European Strategy for a Better Internet for Kids that support the work of safer internet centers. And I would like to emphasize the importance of the safe and open networks through these years. The Digital Services Act is a regulation that aims to supervise internet platform and digital service. We consider this a very important measures, special to protect children in the digital environments. We are discussing the benefits of this regulation with several national entities to define the new steps to take at the national level. After this discussion with these different national entities for implementing Digital Service Act in Portugal, we intend to carry out an informative campaign in schools in collaboration with partners from Safer Internet Center, of course, to keep children and young people protected in the digital environments. We will disseminate this campaign through schools, leaders, and teachers, ensuring that it reaches students so they become aware and discuss this regulation.
So thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your expertise. If I am correct, the DSA will come into full enforcement from the 1st of January 2024. Is that no?
No. The DSA, is in force. What we are doing is we have already designated very large, first batch of very large online platforms, 19, in April. For them, 4 months later, so end of August, for them the rules started applying. What will only enter into kind of, existence is the full governance structure around the DSA. So we are kind of in charge of the large platforms, but there are also many smaller platforms that do not meet that threshold of 45 million. And for them, the national digital service coordinators will be in charge. And member states are at the moment preparing for that, so they have to identify authorities to become the national digital service coordinator, to also arrange how that coordinator works with other competent authorities. And that will create together the Digital Services Board, and that will come into place only on the 17th of February next year. And then the full system is in place, but they apply already now. That's why we can push the platform so much.
Great, so in light of this information, Anne, what changes are you expecting as a result of the DSA already being enforced in the game industry, and how have you prepared for this in the gaming industry specifically? And do you think that it will actually improve the outcomes for young people and mitigate the challenges that we are currently facing?
Thank you, Selma. So yes, as I said previously, so the DSA is a really important piece of legislation, and I think that for one of the first time, we see that there is real enforcement also happening on the side of the Commission, with significant means being deployed on that level as well. So that will impose, of course, obligation on many companies, video game companies included. So there's active preparation on, of course, complying with the DSA, such as publishing annual moderation, transparency reports, etc. For our sector, the DSA is also important from another perspective, because the video game sector is a creative entertainment sector that rely on copyright. So there are also other things in the DSA that is really key for our sector. So the video game sector introduced standards back in 2007 that strongly aligns with the fundamentals of the DSA today. So I would think that a big part of the video game ecosystem is quite well prepared already. So since this date, something called the PEGI Code of Conduct, they are signatories that offer online interactions such as in-game chat, to have tools and safeguards in place to protect minors from both harmful and illegal content. These include tools such as age gating, reporting tools, filtering software, etc. For those that do not know PEGI, it's the Pan-European Game Information System that provides the age-appropriate age labels for games and content descriptors. And around 40,000 games have been labeled with a PEGI label today, and it's used in 38 countries. And I know that PEGI is here somewhere in the room. I know that Dirk Bosman is here, but I can't see him. So regarding challenges that young players face when they play games. So yesterday, I asked my Selma, my 10-year-old daughter, about what does playing games means for you. And she's limited. She doesn't yet interact online, etc. We have set common rules on that. And she said, well, Mummy, you discover new worlds, you have to navigate. They're really beautiful, you have to conquer stuff. And I can be the character I want to be. And it's just fun. Why are you asking? So that was the response I got from a 10-year-old. And I think that's important, because I think that brings us back to why we play games as well. And I think that's really important to remember this. So, there are games that are called what we call multiplayer games, that are games that allow for online interaction with others. Not all games allow for this. We wanted to know how young people interacted when playing multiplayer online games. So we asked Ipsos to conduct a survey on this. And we looked at how many do play such games, do they communicate with others, do they use the reporting tools, muting tools, etc. So we discovered that the vast majority do not play multiplayer online games. About 70% do not play such games. Among those who did, there was a high awareness among the young players of the reporting tools. And when they used these tools, they had a good experience. They found it efficient, etc. But as we saw from Amanda, of course, young people, we also saw that they may develop other ways of dealing with inappropriate content or content that they don't like, or if they're bullied, etc. So you see that this sort of resilience is also developing. There are different ways of dealing with that as well. But of course, these reporting tools must be really, really accessible. So just sharing that perspective on the online safety part.
Great, thank you so much. We are at the end of our questions. I think this panel was a perfect example of the multi-stakeholder approach that we should be pursuing. We kind of saw the different perspectives, and this is exactly the kind of thing that we currently need in order to have a safer internet. So thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us. Thank you to our panelists for being here, and
so now we will have a coffee break. I will ask everyone to please be back in the room by 11:20 for a session with young influencers. Thank you.
thank you, everyone.